Hi, my name is Chaplain Amber Newson, and I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and my calling for spiritual ministry, as well as my faith background. So first off, I'm going to start with my calling because that is the whole reason why I'm here and why I want to become an active duty Air Force chaplain. And so first off, I'm going to read 1 Timothy 1:9 for you, which is what led me to believe that I am called for this purpose. So that's 1 Timothy 1:9, and that is, He who has saved us and called us with a holy calling, not according to our works, but according to God's own purpose and grace. And I believe that verse, every single time I hear it, I just get wowed by it because I feel called by God for his specific holy calling. And that calling first started when I was actually a little kid. I remember going to a Bible camp in Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota. And there was this camp called Camp Jim, Jesus is Mine, in Brainerd, Minnesota. And I just remember listening to a sermon and being so impacted by it that after the campfire service, everybody gathered around the campfire and I went forward and dedicated my life to God. And I said, I'm going to serve God with my life. And so I made a promise to God. And sure enough, years down the road, I felt specifically called for the military ministry. And the reason for that, the military has basically been my life. I grew up as a military brat, is what they call us. My dad was an Army commander, and so I learned all about the Army way of life as a military family member. And then I also learned what it's like to have to be ministered to in the chapel and things like that as a family member. And so I got to see firsthand what that's like. And then that inspired me later when I became an adult. And so when I was an adult, I'm very patriotic. And so I went to an Air Force recruiter and said, I'd like to join the Air Force as a chaplain. But unfortunately at that time, God did not have that for me. And there were no available billets for that. And so I ended up joining the Air Force anyways and became an intelligence analyst in the Air Force. And God had me do that for 9 years. And then thankfully, a couple of years into it, in 2014, I was able to get a billet for an Air Force chaplain candidate program. And on that program, I learned a lot from my mentors, specifically at the different bases that I was assigned to. And I learned all about chaplain ministry. And I'm very, very thankful to my mentors and for that experience. And it shaped me who I am, and it stretched me, and it made me grow. And I'm very, very appreciative of it. And it made me even more so want to become a chaplain. But in 2014, I actually got out and decided I wanted to experience some civilian ministry so I could see what that was like in the civilian world and so I could grow a little bit more. God just wasn't ready for me yet for this active duty ministry. And so I had to grow and learn. And so I ended up becoming a hospital and a hospice chaplain minister. And I ministered, actually, ironically enough, in Brainerd, Minnesota, where I had dedicated my life to God. But then God also has another sense of humor. And I was able to meet a man that, ironically, serves in the Air Force. And so, sure enough, God brought me back into the military way of life. And I married this man. And we live on a military base now. And I love the military way of life. In fact, you could probably hear the helicopters around us and the Air Force planes taking off in the background. I love the military. And so God has brought all those things and shaped all of that in my life until where I am today. And now, present day today, I would love to be an active duty Air Force chaplain. And I feel that now I'm ready for God's calling for my specific life. So secondly, I would like to tell you a little bit about my faith background. So where I come from, I am a non-denominational Christian. And I believe in Christ, and I follow the Bible as my guiding principle and my foundation for my life and all that I do. And I actually chose a non-denominational organization called the Evangelical Church Alliance because it aligns with a lot of the core beliefs that I believe in for Bible doctrines, and as well as it is a great group that is very good for worshiping with interfaith Christians and other groups, and is very supportive of that ministry. And so I feel that it's a great organization to be a part of and something that I'm proud to be a member of. And one of the things, lastly, I hope that if I am selected to become an active duty Air Force chaplain, that I'm going to be a chaplain that guides with faith principles and good leadership, and that somebody could look up to, as well as somebody who ministers to those in my faith group. And then I also plan to be significant as a mentor and those from all interfaith groups, and even those who may not even subscribe to a faith group. I want to be able to be a chaplain that people can know has integrity first and who has God at the center of her life. And so I hope that you are able to see who I am and know that God has called me for this specific purpose. And I hope to be able to be that chaplain. So thank you for learning a little bit about me.